when most people think about adoption, they think of young children being saved and rescued and sent to loving, forever homes. End of story, but such is not the case. It is only the beginning. Adoption is not what you see in adoption agency marketing advertisements where there is a permanent smile on the children's faces. For every family created by adoption, we need to consider that there is also a family that has been forever separated. Hi, I'm Janine. My twin sister, Jeanette, and I, also known as the Vance Twins, were adopted from Seoul, South Korea in 1972 to the United States. In this video, we will share with you our adoption experience, our opinion of international adoption, and the Only an Adoption survey results, which points out the additional burdens adopted people are forced to contend with throughout our lives. We want to thank Mary Theodoropoulos and Roots Research Center for giving us this opportunity to speak. In 2011, we established Adoption Truth and Transparency Worldwide Information Network, @Twin. @Twin began as one of the few public groups to speak from the adult adoptee perspective. In comparison to adoptive parents groups or groups monitored by adoption agency employees, our forum consists of U.S. domestic, late discovery, transracial, and overseas adopted people, family members separated by adoption, and parents of loss. In 1972, my twin and I were told we were found on a street in Korea. The evangelical faith-based adoption agency implied we had been abandoned and unwanted. Our adoption file even includes a certificate of orphanhood, and we believed this implication without question during our childhood and throughout most of our adulthood. We grew up in a 4,000 square foot house that our adoptive father started building in 1952. He was an aerospace engineer and very involved in the church. He owned 13 cars, mostly Cadillac limousines, a Mustang, a couple of Jaguars, a Trans Am, a GMC motorhome that we often used to go camping in. Some would consider our childhood superior if they only looked from the outside. Our adopted mother did the best she could despite having problems with hoarding and depression. Before Dad could finish building the home, the rooms and halls were packed with boxes of possessions Mom had collected, stored, and couldn't throw away. In 1984, when we were 12 years old, our adopted father survived a 100-foot fall by the glider folding up in mid-air, which left him permanently disabled due to a traumatic brain injury caused by the fall. Our adopted mother was diagnosed with cancer our senior year of high school and passed away. My sister took care of our adoptive father while she attended college, and then I became his primary caregiver for 25 years until he passed away on June 25, 2021 at the age of 90. Our opinion on overseas adoption is influenced by the voices of the people most impacted by adoption. My concern started in 2004 when a Korean man approached me in a back alley and searched for his missing son taken overseas to fill the market. Throughout the years, I've learned he's not the only one. There are tens of thousands of cases like his. For every forever family built and created by adoption, there's another family forever and completely severed. Our opinion on adoption is also influenced by not only Korean parents of adoption loss, but parents of loss all over the world. However, in our case, since the Korean War ended in 1954, adoption agencies have exported more than 200,000 Korean children to foreign nations. What is most disconcerting is that Korean mothers and fathers have been searching for their children decades after their children have been taken. Another daily influence of ours has been from the voices of the group we formed. Shockingly, because it was a public group, adult adoptees were immediately hit with abuse and volatile resistance by the adoptive parent groups, also known as the demand side of adoption, instead of empathy and understanding as humans deserve. Members were ostracized by the adopted families and the adoptive community at large. It was discovered that it is common for adult adoptees to be stigmatized as perpetual children. Even as middle-aged adults, senior citizens, and elders were commonly scolded to be grateful, to appreciate our luck, to stop being angry, and to believe in God. If we did not comply with adopted parents' wishes, hopes, and dreams, adopted people are often demeaned and told to be more thankful. Our opinions on adoption is influenced by more than 25 plus years of research into adoption history that spans more than 400 years. There is an intersection between religion and international adoption that not many people are aware of. International adoption was initially engineered by European Catholic priests in the 1600s, now known as the child migration schemes. The movement of children quickly spread by competing and pioneering Protestant ministers during the forming of the United States in the 1850s and often referred to as the orphan train movement. It became normalized in routine social procedure called the baby scoop era after World War II in the U.S. The mass recruitment, harboring, and transportation of children quickly spread to Asia and Africa by evangelicals after the Korean War 70 years ago. I call these faith-based movements the baby swoop era and the orphan plane movement. I focus on this in the book Adoption: What You Should Know. The same contents is also available in the textbook limited edition retitled as Adoption History, which is used for fundraising for survivors of adoption grief. Many of us were adopted by missionaries, ministers, pastors, church elders, and deacons, and thus were trained in our upbringing that our adoption was God's plan. The great majority of adult adoptees who took part of the Only an Adoption poll no longer believe that adoption was initiated by God, but rather a plan initiated by humans and pushed by facilitators. Religious authority should no longer be permitted to speak for and act as God, nor should they be allowed to displace us from families. In the West, we don't think that any of us could be scammed by a $20 billion industry, but if one examines its history from a stance rooted in human rights, we discover that adoption and its aftermath influences our lives more than we can imagine. Dear friends, we are representatives of Korean adoptees worldwide. We would appreciate it if you stand with all of us in the name of human rights enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Please send Jeanette at vancetwins.com the logo of your organization, and we will add it into a letter for the Korean government to stop intercountry adoptions from Korea 70 years after the Korean War ended. Also, pass on this request to other human rights organizations you believe would like to stand with us in the name of human rights enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Thank you for your consideration on this matter. The Vance Twins. Email Jeanette at vancetwins.com if you would like to volunteer. For the Only an Adoption survey results, or to ensure your opinion is heard, visit adoptionhistory.org. To learn more about the intersection between intercountry adoptions and religion and other exhibits, Pick up the fundraising textbook Adoption History by Janine Vance. You will find the same content inside Adoption, What You Should Know, available on audiobooks, on Amazon, and online retailers.